What's going on? Welcome to the 5-Minute Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Colton Olson, and on this podcast, we spend about 5 minutes, I say about 5, give or take a couple sometimes, breaking down and teaching you to apply psychological concepts that world-class athletes, CEOs, coaches, and elite military units use to take their performance to the next level. The key word here is apply. I don't want you to come here and just get a bunch of information and not know how to use it. I want you to leave here every day feeling like you have something in your hands that you can use right away to improve your life. Let's get to it. Motivation is one of the, quote, sexiest terms out there when it comes to human performance. Usually when people don't know where to start, they sit down and they start Googling things like how to increase motivation or best motivational videos. People do this because even though they don't have a great understanding of what motivation is, maybe they do, sometimes they don't, they know or they believe that they need to be motivated if they're going to start having success. And in some ways, people are right when they say that. In general, motivation is a really important factor in performance. It isn't everything. You need other things like discipline, consistency, and resilience. But when it's formed the right way and based on the right things, motivation is a really powerful and long-lasting tool. And that's what you want if you want to be a high performer. Powerful, authentic, long-lasting motivation. And today we're going to discuss a secret that I believe is key to creating exactly that type of motivation. Basically, motivation is just the reasons we have for acting or behaving in a certain way. Every action we take is a motivated action. There's a reason for everything we do, even if we don't consciously think about it. And in performance psychology, we talk about two different types of motivation: intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So the words intrinsic and extrinsic just refer to where our source of motivation is coming from. When we're intrinsically motivated, our source of motivation is from within ourselves, meaning that we're motivated to engage in a certain task or a certain behavior because it's enjoyable or valuable to us, not because we're being given a reward or an incentive to do it. So examples of intrinsically motivating behaviors are things like skiing or even reading a book. Most people aren't given rewards like money or fame for reading or skiing. They usually pay their own money and continue paying money over a long period of time because those things are things they enjoy doing and they're engaging for them. They like to keep doing it. And when we're extrinsically motivated, our source of motivation comes from outside factors. So this is the most common form of motivation. This is what we usually get. We engage in certain behaviors because we want money, we want to get grades or to get a degree, we want to be recognized by others, or maybe we're doing it to get a certain object. An example of an extrinsically motivating behavior is doing homework because you need to do it to get a passing grade. So you might not be interested in the material or even enjoy doing that type of work, but you're motivated to complete it because you know you need it to pass a certain class. And both types of motivation work. Both intrinsic and extrinsic work. But intrinsic motivation typically leads to better performance and is much more long-lasting. Extrinsic motivation works for a little while, but eventually it fades away and we either stop doing the tasks we're extrinsically motivated by, or we just stop taking them seriously and we do whatever the bare minimum is. Think about the homework example. I know much like other people, there were times where I was taking certain classes and had to do homework to pass a class, and I got after it for a little bit, but after a certain amount of time, I'm like, whatever, I'm going to do the bare minimum and just get through this. That's what happens to extrinsic motivation. So we want to find intrinsic motivation. Another important piece of motivation is a goal. In order to be truly motivated, we have to be working towards something. We need to be chasing something. We got to be seeking something or we'll stop working. As powerful as the chase is, though, or the goal is, our motivation is even more powerful if we're also running away from something. And there was a study they did in psychology that brought the power of running from something to light. So in the study, they had a mouse in a cage and they attached the mouse's tail to a lever that measured how hard it would pull. Then they wafted the smell of cheese in from the front of the mouse so it would pull towards it. Obviously, when the cheese smell comes in, the mice, they pulled pretty hard. Sometimes really hard depending on the strength or amount of the scent put in. But then they had an idea. They said, why don't we keep putting the cheese scent in from the front, but then at the same time, let's waft the smell of a cat in from behind the mouse. And they found that when they wafted the smell of the cat in from behind the mouse, they pulled significantly harder and for significantly longer every time that scent was put in. And the lesson from this is that we work hard when we're pursuing a goal. We'll pull pretty hard, but we'll work even harder if we're also running from something. And unlike the mice, we don't have a predator to run from. But when you choose to pursue something, a goal that's worthwhile, you're also running away from something. That could be a lifestyle, a version of you that you don't currently like or don't want to come to life, and that stuff's powerful. So that's the secret to powering up your motivation. Instead of simply chasing a goal, you should also be running from the life you don't want. You don't just want to achieve your goals. You want to leave the worst version of you behind. So what are our tactics for putting the secret to work and creating powerful, long-lasting motivation? Well, tactic 1, like we talked about in the beginning, you have to seek intrinsic motivation. When you're pursuing your goals, aim to find your motivation, your drive in the process, not the outcome. Focusing on the process, focusing and finding motivation in your daily work, personal development, or in overcoming challenges sets you up for success. So let things like that motivate you. Find the joy in that. Tactic 2, identify what it is you're running from. Is it a version of you that you don't like? Is it feelings of being afraid of not fulfilling your full potential? Are you running from a life you don't want, a place you don't want to be? It could be anything like that. For me, it's the idea of not reaching my full potential and having to live with that as an older man, wishing I could go back and do the work I didn't do when I could. So find something to run from. And tactic 3, think long-term, act short-term. You need to have a vision for the future that you want, what you're pursuing and what you're running from, but you need to take action on a day-to-day or even moment-by-moment basis. The future you want consists of a lot of small actions put together over a long period of time. So, chase what you want, but don't let that cat get you. That's the secret to powering up your motivation. That's all we got for today. If you enjoy the podcast, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review. Find me on Twitter at RaidoPsych, RAIDOPSYCH, and I'll see you back here next time on 5 Minute Mindset.